You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Incoming transmission.
Good afternoon, everybody. You're listening to the
HoloNet Podcast on the Lanterns Media Network. The new conservative resistance begins right here, right now.
Allied reinforcements have arrived from the west.
You're listening to the HoloNet on Lanterns Media Network. The Millennial Conservative Resistance begins here.
Good afternoon, everybody. You're listening to the HoloNet Podcast here on the Lanterns Media Network from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm your host, Matt Holloway. Oh, we have a heck of a show to get underway, but first and foremost, today is Sunday, September the 16th, year of our Lord 2018, and there are some pretty big developments happening across the pond that I want to make you aware of. Real quick, I'm going to make sure that we're switching from me just showing you kind of a little headshot to me actually giving you a view of me. Let me see if I can get my Logitech to come online there. Hello, Logitech. Come on, little camera. Who's a good little camera? There it is. Okay, so not perfect, but we'll work on that in a minute. Anybody listening on the podcast, this has to sound a little weird, but I haven't actually dropped a headshot into this schema in so long that it's kind of weird. So there I am. Hi, everybody on YouTube. Hi, everybody on Facebook and BitChute. Thank you for joining us today. We are about to jump over the pond because it appears that Prime Minister Theresa May is in a little bit of trouble.
All of you!
Yeah, seriously, that's got to be what Theresa May is saying right about now, because according to the latest Brexit news, and this is coming to us from the Sunday Express, resign and we won't revolt. Brexiteer members of Parliament are sending Theresa May an ultimatum over her Chequers deal. Dissident members of Parliament have revealed they are willing to call off their mutiny against Prime Minister if she sets out her intentions to step down before the next general election. We go to some audio here with JacobReese-Mogg denying a plan to oust Theresa May right now. Hang on.
Role. You were moderating influence. You were saying keep those letters in your drawers.
I don't think there are many people who are saying that. I think there have always been a few, but there are a few spread across all wings of the party. There always are. No leader of any party. Even Jesus had disciples who were disgruntled with him. I mean, Iscariot being the most prominent. That you know how it is. That's always been the way, regardless of the qualities of the leader.
Now, this is just my thought, but when we get to quoting, the Bible and saying even Jesus had his detractors, methinks he doth protest it a little bit too much. Is a challenge, a motion against Theresa May in the offing at 10 Downing Street, and could this result in Prime Minister Jacob Rees-Mogg, or could we start seeing some response out of UKIP, the UK Independence Party? There have been a lot of rumors and grumblings out there that with the recent support of YouTubers like Carl Benjamin, aka Sargon of Akkad, and also Count Dankula, whose real name I've quite forgotten, with their recent addition and also that of Paul Joseph Watson of InfoWars fame, they're attracting a newer, younger base. Could this catapult UKIP's Nigel Farage into the Prime Minister's office at the 10 Downing Street Cabinet Room? Now, one Tory told The Sun she needs to chuck checkers first and then throw us a bone about her own future. It does nothing to help her position when aides brief that she intends to stay on and fight the 2022 election. That is not going to happen. Despite calls for her to resign, the Prime Minister is determined she will not budge from Downing Street, revealing that she is, quote, a little bit irritated about the continuing debate surrounding her leadership qualities. Now, anybody who's not familiar with British wit, read a little bit irritated as the equivalent to President Trump being absolutely enraged and throwing a chair. Typically, the emotional reactions we see in British politics are a tad understated, but this could signal some increased instability in the British Conservative government. Will they actually be able to survive implementing Brexit? Or could this set the stage for a potential takeover by the Labour Party in the UK? God forbid. So something to keep an eye on now, especially poignant as Article 13 has just passed in the European Union, which, if it is finally approved as part of the comprehensive copyright package coming up here in spring, will spell the end for the internet as we know it. It will be instating a link tax, as we discussed the other day, and it will be, I should add, as we discussed on Defenders of American Exceptionalism, which I was happy to guest co-host with Stephen Airy, and also implement a filter on the internet as a whole, an upload filter, if you will, that will basically copyright check everything you upload. It'll make making a meme impossible. Being a YouTube content creator will be incredibly difficult. Steve's watching live on Facebook right now. Thanks, Steve, saying that short answer is no one cares about the Brits. And, well, on the HoloNet, I know we've taken a couple of hops over the pond from time to time. And the reason I like to do that is because it is important that we understand where our allies are sitting and how we can better assist them and better assist ourselves and carry out American interests. We can't be deaf, dumb, and blind to everything that's going on around us in the world because we're all wrapped up in our own garbage. Speaking of being wrapped up in our own garbage, we're going to go to something a little bit funnier when we get back. It seems the left is in a tizzy because FEMA is testing a system which will allow President Trump to send emergency alerts directly to our phones. Now, I kind of thought we could already do that. You know, if I'm not mistaken, I've looked on my phone before, and in the settings, it has always said presidential alerts as an option. That's the one thing you can't disable on your phone. You can disable Amber Alerts, you can disable weather alerts even, but you can't disable the presidential alert system. So, why the big deal now? I think this is yet another piece of distraction to draw us away from the important news that's at hand. Now we're going to take a really quick break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into that. FEMA setting up a test allowing Trump to send emergency alerts. That comes to us from the Hill. Now, you're listening to the HoloNet podcast here on the Lanterns Media Network. We are also on Facebook Live, facebook.com/HoloNet. You can tweet at the HoloNet. Find us on www.theholonet.com and theholonet.lanterns.buzz as always. We'll be right back. Hey everyone, this is Matt Holloway, and I hope you're enjoying our podcast so far. It's been exciting putting this together for you, and I'm looking forward to many more to come. I did want to let you know that in setting up the HoloNet and getting everything launched here, we've gone ahead and set up a page on Patreon.com. Now, if you haven't heard of Patreon, Patreon is a website that's similar to other crowdfunding sources that allows you to support on a month-to-month basis those sources, those artists, and those groups that you really care about and that you're passionate about. And I hope that we can ignite passion in a lot of people to become more involved in the political process, and also to become involved in the conversation and to keep that political dialogue alive. So I'd like to humbly ask you today to consider becoming a patron of the HoloNet on Patreon.com, and you can access that at Patreon.com/theHoloNet. We have various levels of patronage. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month, which unlocks exclusive content for the Patreon community, such as a feed of patron-only content. Then you have a $5 option, which gives you behind-the-scenes access to blog about the different inspirations that we have. It'll give you access to patrons-only polling. And then we have a $10 option, which gives you a signed digital poster plus everything else. $20 option, which gives you name in the credits on the site, and all other rewards. And we even have a segment sponsor package available on Patreon, which is $125 a month, which entitles you and your business to a 60-second ad as a segment sponsor during the podcast, of course, subject to content approval. So if you would like to become a patron of the HoloNet, we would be greatly thankful to you, and it's going to go toward a solid cause of generating this sort of millennial constitutional conservative content that is so lacking in our media today. So thank you for your time, for your consideration, and for being a part of the HoloNet. Here we hold the line against the night, and the millennial conservative resistance begins here.
Allied reinforcements have arrived from the west.
You're listening to the HoloNet on Lanterns Media Network. The millennial conservative resistance begins here.
Oh, yes, indeed, that is right. The new millennial resistance does indeed begin right here, right now, with you. You're listening to the HoloNet podcast here on the Lanterns Media Network. I'm your host, Matt Holloway. Thanks for joining us. We have yet another test now coming from FEMA of the emergency alert system, it would seem. So President Trump will now have the ability to get directly to our cell phones. So when he's tired of tweeting us, he's going to be able to come in directly to our phones, sounding a little something like this. Oh God, get rid of that annoying thing. Now, anybody who lives in Arizona like I do will have that as a very, very familiar sound when it comes to dust storms. When it comes to Amber Alerts, that's heard nationwide. But really, you have to stop for a second and say, what the hell are they talking about? I've had a presidential alert option on my phone for months now. I remember when I first got my phone, it was about 2 years ago. I think I've got a G9 or something like that. But to that point, I need a new phone. But I digress. There's option settings on your phone that you can go into that allow you to knock out basically certain forms of those alerts. You can tell it that you don't want Amber Alerts. You can tell it that you don't want weather alerts. But the one thing you can't do, you can't disable the presidential alert system. And I'm going to pull it up on here. I'm going to see if I can show you guys. For you guys watching here on Facebook Live, YouTube, and all that, you'll be able to see this. So I'm going to go to my settings. Here we go, more. Emergency alerts. Okay. So you can see this. I'm going to check on the screen to make sure you guys can see this. Yeah, okay. So getting a little closer. You see right there, it gives you imminent alerts, it gives you extreme alerts. The one that's grayed out all the way at the top is presidential alerts. Now, my phone's been like this for a while, ever since I got it. Presidential alerts are always presented. This is like the nuclear war is imminent alert. Or, we're about to get hit by a massive meteor, which I, among other people, were basically begging for in the last election campaign. This has been a constant, but now we see on the Hill, FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, is testing a new system next week that allows President Trump to send messages directly to U.S. cell phones. I thought we already had that. All major wireless firms and more than 100 mobile carriers are participating in the new Wireless Emergency Alerts program that allows for presidential alerts, FEMA wrote in a Thursday statement. The EAS Emergency Alert System is a national public warning system that provides the president with the communications capability to address the nation during a national emergency. So, if this was already a thing that existed, why is it news? Seriously. It shouldn't be. So, this is the story on the Hill, and it's very informational, it just kind of is bare bones. But really, to get an idea of what the left is saying, you have to go to a story from The Blaze. So this is the story from The Blaze right here, September 15th, Chris Enlow. So, goes in to tell us what FEMA's doing. What was the reaction? Now, even though experts on the Hill explain that the National Emergency Notification System has for decades remained professional and impartial, those opposed to the president did not welcome FEMA's announcement. Prepare to die, folks, John Marshall, publisher of the left-leaning Talking Points memo, said. In other words, it's basically like an Amber Alert from the president when we're all about to die. Or alternatively, when he's going... What was it? When he's going ape that tweeting just won't give him enough satisfaction. Come on, guys. Could we spell check Twitter? Please? Just spell check Twitter. That tweeting just won't give him enough satisfaction. Okay, we have another person who says, I will throw my cell phone into the sea. Author Meg Ellison said, I already get enough calls from scammers daily. I don't really need another person said. Where the hell did this all come from? I mean, I get that FEMA is, released a report that said they're going to test the system. Apparently, the system has existed for several years. Otherwise, it would not have been on a cellular phone that it purchased in, 2016. So, what is... Sorry, Steve's making me laugh. He's tweeting me here about spell checks. But what is the big deal about a system where the groundwork was being laid during the Obama administration, and now people are concerned because President Trump has the capacity? This is a system that is designed for use exclusively in an emergency. This isn't when the president decides to go off on a tear. Now, what I could see as troubling to some people is the fact that the president has the ability to preempt all broadcasting and reach the American people directly, which the media can't stand. So if the president decides that there's information that the American people need to know, like maybe he's the target of a coup, or, something like that, that he could be able to reach out to the American public directly without the intervention of the media. Where did we see something like this? About a year ago, when there was the attempted coup in Turkey, and President Recep Tayyip Erdogan was able to seize direct control of the media, not by bashing the doors in, but from his cell phone. He was able to jump onto his cell phone and FaceTime with news outlets to confirm not only was he alive, but he was indeed still in command of the country. And I think that is probably what the left is getting a little bit pissed off at here. This is one more reminder that the president doesn't need you in order to speak to the American people. It's yet another case of the media thrashing and wailing because they are being rendered obsolete by a president who doesn't want anything to do with them, doesn't really have a use for them. Especially when you have people like Defenders of American Exceptionalism and the Holonet Podcast and Common Sense Radio here on the Lanterns Media Network. We're not bought and paid for by big corporations. We're regular people like you. We just decided to go and order some nice electronics and set up a website. Citizen journalists are taking the place of the Fourth Estate. And the President of the United States and politicians are learning that in this connected age, you can go straight to the people. You don't have to go through the press anymore. You don't have to play the game. No. Here in the Senate race, I voted for Kelly Ward in the primary for Senate. One of the big reasons I voted for her is because she is amazing at connecting with her base directly through Facebook. I've got no grudge against Martha McSally, except for the fact that I think she's Jeff Flake light. You know, I've got no grudge against John Kyle. He seems to have a fairly decent milquetoast record. I have a pretty big problem with Kristen Sinema. We'll get to that later. Apparently she had a bad habit of circulating very, very anti-military flyers. You know, that's her right, but that doesn't mean I want that woman representing me in the United States Senate, does it? But we've reached an age where politicians need to connect to their people directly, and not only can they bypass the media entirely, they absolutely should. You absolutely should bypass the media completely and get directly to the people that you represent. Don't kowtow to the 6 corporations that run all of the news in the country. No. Get on your Facebook Live. Get on your Twitter. Get on your YouTube. Except for the fact that all of those are only run by 3 corporations. So then, what does that leave us to? What alternative does that give us? To go directly to the people. That's when you see sites like BitChute and Gab and Minds come out. This is why it's becoming all the more crucial for people to learn how to code, for entrepreneurs to take risks, to engage, and to build the platforms that we will need to connect to one another. If you don't like Facebook, that's great. Build something better. If you don't like YouTube, do what BitChute did. Build something better. Where not only is censorship avoided, it's practically impossible because the way that data is shared. If you don't like the way the federal government manipulates our currency, get on blockchain. It's coming up very quickly where technology is going to set us free economically, and technology is also going to set us free politically. Because as Mr. Universe once said in the movie Serenity, for all of my fellow brown coats out there, other fans of Captain Malcolm Reynolds, you just can't stop the signal. Now from that, speaking of Twitter and speaking of social media, Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey, Jack, says conservatives feel silenced at his heavily liberal company. Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey said right-leaning staffers at his social media company don't feel comfortable expressing their views because of the predominantly liberal workspace. What did he say exactly? The quote is, "We have a lot of conservative-leaning folks in the company as well, and to be honest, they don't feel safe to express their opinions at the company," Dorsey said in an interview published on Friday by Recode. They do feel silenced by just the general swirl of what they perceive to be the broader percentage of leanings within the company, and I don't think that's fair or right. He added, "We should make sure that everyone feels safe to express themselves within the company, no matter where they come from and what their background is. I mean, my dad was a Republican." So, this comes from the same guy who admitted to shadow banning, that is a thing which exists. that struck down Alex Jones and his InfoWars channel. This is coming from the CEO of Twitter. That you shouldn't feel afraid because you have differing views. Well, Jack, tell that to all the people you've banned. Tell that to the people who get shadow banned, where their tweets will never get out and they will never know. The hypocrisy is strong with this one. So strong. But again, I say, if you don't like the way Twitter runs, get on Gab. Get on these alternative sites. Embrace these entrepreneurial ventures, because MySpace was everything until it wasn't. Right now, Facebook is everything, but only until it isn't. Nothing is truly monolithic in this digital age. The only thing that has withstood the test of time is the principle that all men should be free. By all men, excuse me, the PC crowd, all mankind ought to be free. Everything else is transitory, is passing and fleeting. The big six media corporations? Yeah, I don't suppose you heard about iHeartMedia filing for bankruptcy. That kind of slipped underneath the radar. iHeartMedia, one of the largest radio conglomerates in the world. Yeah, they filed for Chapter 11. Bidding war is brewing over the bankrupt iHeartMedia. This is back in July. iHeartMedia bankruptcy filing brings questions. They reported $853 million in quarterly revenue. They filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy back in March. So if iHeart can go down, you know, I better watch my six. I mean, you can listen to this podcast on iHeartMedia. At least until they hear this show. If iHeart can go down, so can CBS. So can Time Warner. So can NBC. So can CNN. So can Fox. Like that it can. Too big to fail is an illusion. So if you don't like the way Facebook treats you, get off of it. If you don't like Twitter, get off. If you can't build a viewership on YouTube because their algorithm is tuning you down and you're getting a copyright hit on every single thing, like this guy, that's fine. Build a following on BitChute. Build a following on Talk America Radio. Build a following on In Perpetual Motion Internet Radio. Build a following on Mojo 50. There are so many options now that you don't really have an excuse to sit around and whine. Now we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get into it, and it has nothing to do with movies, but we are going to talk about some cinema sins. Some Christian cinema sins. Here on the HoloNet Podcast on the Lanterns Media Network. Stick around.
Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
All right, you're listening to HoloNet Podcast here on the Lanterns Media Network. I'm your host, Matt Holloway. I am going to drop a little bit of wisdom on you today. We've made some big changes on the holonet.com, and you'll be able to find them right about down here in this region here, below all of our stories. And when you're reading a story on the holonet.com, boom, you've got our related products, which you can pick up. These are conservative tomes. These are the sources of our knowledge when it comes to the conservative movement here in the United States, and some of them are just good fun. You'll see here the Constitution of the State of Arizona. You can pick that up. Biopic on Ted Kennedy, Identity Crisis, the 2016 presidential campaign, Rules for Radicals Defeated, and Understanding the Arizona Constitution. Now, these are ads by Amazon. Full disclosure, when you purchase something off of Amazon.com on the HoloNet, that does go towards supporting our page, supporting our content. So please, make sure you check that out on the holonet.com. And now, here's the really cool part, our recommended reading list. Now, I posted this back on Facebook a while back, and here we have all the must-haves. The Constitution of the United States and the Federalist Papers, the Bible Promise Book, New World Translation of the Bible, and holy crap, Sean Hannity, Glenn Beck, Jerry Doyle, Ann Coulter, Bill O'Reilly. There's a lot of Beck on here. I read a lot of his stuff. Dinesh D'Souza, Greg Gutfeld, and of course Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. If you want to pick up any of these recommended books, you can do that on the holonet.com/p/Matt's reading list, or just go to the holonet.com, click recommended reading. Finally, to take on a little tour here to the special offers section on the holonet.com. We have a free trial from Audible. You get 2 free audiobooks. You can start your free month of Amazon Prime Video. You can download free Kindle reading app and get $3 towards your ebooks, or start your free trial, your free 30-day trial of Amazon Prime. That's right, the HoloNet is now a member of the Amazon affiliate program. So please, if you want to check out any of those great services, go to holonet.com, click special offers, and get that today. That's on the holonet.com. Now back to the show.
Allied reinforcements have arrived from the west.
You're listening to the HoloNet on Lanterns Media Network. The Millennial Conservative Resistance begins here.
Oh yes, even here at the halfway mark, the new Millennial Conservative Resistance does indeed begin right here, right now, with you! You're listening to the HoloNet Podcast on the Lanterns Media Network. So, Arizona U.S. Senate Democratic candidate Kirsten, I keep saying Kristen, but it's Kirsten, there's a Y there, Kyrsten Sinema criticized for anti-war flyers from the early 2000s. That's right, it's time to drop some bombs here, which apparently is what Kyrsten Sinema was against. Arizona U.S. Senate candidate Kyrsten Sinema is contending with flyers that have surfaced from her days as an anti-war activist in the early 2000s. Let's see if they've got an image of this thing. I want to see. So we're going to go to CNN. Oh, come on. They got to have the flyers. Where's the flyers? Okay, here we go. The flyers, which are available through the Internet Archive's Wayback Machine. I love how I have to dig through 9 links to actually get to the thing. Let's see this. Apparently it's supposed to have a couple of skeletons on there. One of a soldier, one of a man in a top hat, and one of a man in a suit. And, charging people to prevent U.S. terror in Iraq. Let's see if we got this thing here. Okay, come on. Alright, we gotta find this thing here. Oh, did somebody take it down? Oh, that would be too funny if somebody actually took it down. Okay, we got some interesting stuff on this site. Abolish Columbus Day. Okay, so I'm not finding it. Oh, wait, here's the flyer. Is this it? Is this it? Is it it? Oh, man, the site is so slow. How many things do I got to click through to get to this? Okay, so we're going to go back to the Blaze. Let's see here. The flyers depict an American soldier as a skeleton that is inflicting, quote, U.S. terror in Iraq and the Middle East, CNN reported. But it looks like somebody took down the flyer. Isn't that something? I didn't think you could get to the Wayback Machine and take down stuff like that. That's crazy. Can't get it. Wow, that's fast. That is so fast. That by the time you get to the story to talk about it, the links are dead. The flyers, which are available through the Internet Archive's Wayback Machine, let's see about that. I'm not able to find it. Actually, it just froze my browser, which is fantastic. You can't even get there. You can't even get there. So that's how scared her campaign is of this flyer. So this is very old news. But, yeah. Do we really want that kind of a voice in the Senate? Yeah, wow. They took that down. They did a good job. She must be worried about it. It's a pity. If I can get it, guys, I'm going to link it right in the HoloNet notes. But the flyer, see if the Blaze was able to find it, said, "You can help us push back U.S. terror in Iraq and the Middle East." Showed a cartoon with a group of protesters attempting to stop three skeletons, one dressed as a soldier, one in a top hat holding a dollar bill, and another dressed in a suit. The flyer listed the website for Cinema's group and an email for a local anarchist group that participated. Another flyer titled "Stop the War" urged action against Bush and his fascist imperialist war. A cartoon on the flyer said, "Government is slavery, its laws are cobwebs for the rich and chains of steel for the poor." Now, Cinema's campaign spokeswoman Helen Hare said in an emailed comment to CNN, "Kirsten comes from a military family and is very proud of her record, supporting Arizona service members, veterans, and their families." Oh, here we go. Here we go. I got it. All right. So here it is. March and rally against the war in Iraq. Look at that. You can help us push back U.S. terror in Iraq and in the Middle East at Patriots Square in downtown Phoenix. How god-awful is that? What kind of a depiction of the American soldier is that? This is, by definition, folks, anti-capitalism. This is anarcho-socialism, which makes no sense because socialism requires huge government. Anarchists want no government. So somebody's going to have to explain to me someday how anarcho-socialism works, or how anarchists and socialists get on the same page. You know how it works? They're both fighting to bring down a constitutionalist, capitalist society. They both want the same thing. The downfall of our existing government and our existing culture. But when they get it, they're going to turn around and go after each other. Or did you not study up on the Russian Civil War? Because that's exactly what happened. Okay, so here's that flyer. I'm gonna bookmark this. I'm gonna download this sucker just so I can keep it in the HoloNet archives, because they apparently do not want this getting out. So yeah, gonna save that. And here's the other one from the Wayback Machine. It's like I'm getting kind of a 'Twas the Night Before Christmas vibe off of that. It's creepy. So here we go. Stop the war. March rally, direct action, all out against Bush and his fascist imperialist war. What is government? Whoever lays their hand on me. What is government? A usurper and a tyrant. What is government? I declare them to be my enemy. What is government? Government is slavery. What is government? Its laws are cobwebs for the rich and chains for the poor. From 1961. Downtown Phoenix, Patriot Square Park, February 15th. Oppose the war in Iraq at 10 a.m. Dude. Look at you got the fist right here. This is some powerful socialist imagery, and this is from June 2003. I was a junior in high school. That's bad. That's real bad. Oh, damn, I didn't save that one. Okay. Stop the war. Okay, I gotta open it in another link then. Okay, so I am saving these, I am storing these in the HoloNet archives just to make sure we have them later. But this is what we're fighting against here in the state of Arizona. This is the kind of political opposition we're now looking at nationwide with Kyrsten Sinema, with Alessandria Ocasio-Cortez in New York. This is the new Democratic Party. This is the Democratic Socialists. If you see that nice pretty rose on their chest, that's not from the Tudor family. That is the rose symbol of the Democratic Socialists. And this is the kind of background they have. I mean, I think there's a number of pictures running around of her in a pink tutu, it looked like, as a rally, at a rally like back in 2003. They don't have that picture up here, but I've seen it a million times. If you look at the attack ads that are coming from the Republican side, it's all over the place. And I want to clarify, I am not very excited about the prospects going into this race. I think that we traded a true right-wing conservative constitutionalist base that was represented by Kelly Ward and to a lesser extent by Sheriff Joe Arpaio for Martha McSally. Martha McSally, who has a proven track record of being basically Jeff Flake light, as I alluded to before, very much in the footsteps of John McCain, God rest him. That's not what we need right now. What we need is a rebirth of constitutional values. Which is why I want to direct you to a Facebook post that I put out. You know, usually I don't do this. I usually don't throw my Facebook up onto the big screen here, but I'm going to do it today because it's important to me. One of the races that seems like it has been forgotten in Phoenix is the mayor's race. I don't know the name of the guy that's running. I've never heard of him before. I'm sure he's a very nice man. But I am actually supporting a totally different candidate for Phoenix mayor. I'm supporting a libertarian. That's right. Don't get mad at me. You know, don't start flipping out on me now. Here's why. If you've listened to the HoloNet podcast for a while, you may remember a couple of years, about a year back, we had Mr. Nick Sarwark join the show. He came on the show as a guest, chair of the Libertarian National Committee. He was good enough to join us. Dang it. Oh, that's annoying. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to pop this up on the screen real fast. Right here from the HoloNet. I put up, might catch some flack from my fellow conservative Republicans, but upon revisiting last year's HoloNet interview, which is Third Party Problems, the Libertarian Party, it's time to back Nicholas Sarwark and the Libertarian Party for Phoenix mayoral election 2018. Godspeed, Nick. Give 'em hell. Sarwark for Phoenix. The reason why I've done this is because the Republican Party seems to have retreated from every party that they don't prioritize or feel they either can't win or it's not worth fighting over. Phoenix has typically had a liberal mayor going back, I think, 20 years? And they're so entrenched, the Arizona Democratic Party, in that office, it seems like the GOP almost doesn't even want to fight for it. So, as I said, I don't know the name of the guy that's running. I haven't heard him in the news at all. They're not putting any ad spend behind this at all. But Greg Stanton, who is the Democrat running Phoenix, is very well known. Much maligned, and for good cause, because the guy is more than 3/4 a liberal. I mean, he is strong liberal left, and he's now running for Congress. So, we need to beat Greg Stanton in Congress, and we need something different for Phoenix. I think if you put a libertarian in charge of the 5th largest city in the United States, you're going to see some change. And you're going to see third parties really become viable if third parties start kicking in the local elections, in the city elections, the county elections, the state elections. That's how we're going to see this country get away from the dialectic of the Republican Party and the Democratic Party and get closer to what our founding fathers envisioned. Closer to a true republic with a multi-party system where they must work together. There must be consensus and compromise between the multiple parties in order to move forward. I think coalition governance is going to be the best possible thing for this country, and that's why I'm backing Nicholas Sarwark and the Libertarian Party in the mayoral race for Phoenix in 2018. Check him out if you can, please. That's going to be Sarwark for Phoenix. Sarwark for Phoenix. SARWARK for Phoenix.com. All right. Usually I don't throw in for, political ads for people, but I think Nicholas stands a really good chance of doing some great things for the city of Phoenix. News just coming in. Jeff Flake's opposing a quick vote for Kavanaugh. This is coming from Politico. Thank you to Stephen Airy. Flake opposes quick vote on Kavanaugh, putting confirmation in doubt. This just coming in. The Republican has a change of heart following revelations about a woman accusing the Supreme Court nominee of sexual assault. We covered this yesterday on the Defenders of American Exceptionalism. This unsubstantiated report. The Washington Post today announced that the woman, who I choose not to name out of decency, she's finally come forward. A letter to Dianne Feinstein, which never came up before in any of Kavanaugh's previous confirmations, previous background checks, came forward this past week and accused Brett Kavanaugh of sexual misconduct. Sexual assault, indeed, according to Politico. The Arizona senator said he needs to hear more about the allegations raised publicly on Sunday in a Washington Post article, and said the other Republicans shared his view. Flake is one of 11 Republicans on the narrowly divided panel, and without his support, the committee cannot advance his nomination. However, GOP leaders could try to bring Kavanaugh's nomination directly to the Senate floor. He said, if they push forward without any attempt with hearing what she's had to say, I'm not comfortable with voting yes. Flake said, we need to hear from her, and I don't think I'm alone on this. Flake declined to address whether Kavanaugh should withdraw his nomination. He said, I'm not responding to that question at all. The retiring Arizona Republican, not a moment too soon, has long been a thorn in the side of President Donald Trump, refusing to support his campaign in 2016 and criticizing his policies and rhetoric. In return, Trump has repeatedly mocked Flake. Now, according to additional information, the victim, the alleged victim of this crime, revealed it to her husband in 2012 in couples counseling. But again, this is the first we've heard of it, despite Kavanaugh holding numerous positions that required an extremely high level of security clearance beforehand. If you want to hear a little bit more about that, you can give a listen to Defenders of American Exceptionalism. That's available on doaeshow.com. Stephen Airy and I dive into that a little more in depth. But as we close the show, as we bring the show to a close, I want you to remember something very, very important. When information comes up at the last moment of a confirmation, of an election, it should be immediately suspect, especially if the information has been held by a party for a long period of time. In this case, was revealed to the husband in 2012. Apparently, Dianne Feinstein had this letter for months before choosing to come forward. So that always gives me great pause. That tells me someone was saving this for a rainy day. Somebody was saving this as the last bullet in the gun. The left is desperate to prevent a Supreme Court majority which favors conservatives. And Kavanaugh, I cannot stress enough, is not exactly a rock-ribbed conservative. He's made rulings that veer left and right. By all accounts, he is a man with devotion to the law, and not necessarily to his political principles. Now, that's a good thing. But what we need today is a justice whose only loyalties are to the Constitution and to the American people. I think that's what the left fears from Justice Kavanaugh. Or Judge Kavanaugh, I should say. But quite frankly, even if Ruth Bader Ginsburg II was nominated by President Trump, I think we would see the same amount of fight. Because these days, it's not about the actual nominee. It's not about their policies. It's not about how they're going to rule. It's not about the issues at all. It's all about personality politics. See, the left has been their own worst nightmare. They have made everything about President Trump. And it's going to backfire on them in a very, very big way. All right, folks. We're coming to the end of the hour. Again, you've been listening to the HoloNet podcast here on the Lanterns Media Network. You can find us at www.theholonet.com, holonet.lanterns.buzz. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/holonet, on YouTube, Twitter, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, anywhere great podcasts are found. Of course, on BitChute, as I mentioned earlier today. Thanks for listening. Good night. God bless you. And God bless the United States of America.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary